Hello!
Hi! Welcome to the Lost Birds Knitting Podcast. I am Allison, also known as Lost Birds on Ravelry, Etsy, Twitter.
Instagram?
On Instagram, I am Lost Birds Fiber, and I'm also Lost Birds Fiber on Etsy or Facebook. I don't know. Sorry. I'll look it up and let you know.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm also known as Bright D on Ravelry and Lady D Bright on Instagram. And now we have a serious case of the giggles.
As soon as we start recording, I'm always like,
Right.
I know we're about to start, but for some reason it still catches me off guard.
Your mind goes blank.
Yes. I'm like, stage fright or something. Anyway, we're going to get right into it.
Definitely.
So, flight plan for the week. What are you working on?
Well, I don't have much of a list for this week. I am working on 2 pairs of socks, and I'm excessively boring because they're both vanilla socks. One of them is my derby socks, and it's a bit of a wee toe right now. I will discuss the wee toe in an off course this section, but it's in this fantastic, super super bright yarn. And then I have another pair of vanilla socks. This one's for me though. And I'm working with Knitter's Nightmare yarn in the colorway Mother of the Universe, and I am working on size US 1.5s, or it's the larger of the ones. What is it? 2.25 or something like that millimeter. Hold it. I have an answer for this. 2.25! Yay for me being right. So yeah, I'm excessively boring on that scale. So, all over to you.
Okay. Well, I'll start off with my little bitty. I don't really have that much more to talk about either. I was knitting on this last time. It's a little itty bitty baby blanket. I know it looks kind of like a baby or like a blanket square more than an entire blanket, but it's for donation for a group who makes little. I guess they make like bags. They put together bags with hats and blankets and I don't know other stuff in it for mothers in the hospital. And I don't know. I'm assuming it's like a preemie size blanket. This is the size that they specify that they need. So it's like 12 by 12. Although this might actually be a little bigger. So that's my finished object. And I'm working on a couple things. One is the spinning. I have some.
It's so pretty.
Oh, thank you. This is just it's just 100% merino that I dyed. It was kind of like so when you dye wool or fiber in general. What happens is all the dye gets absorbed into the fiber, or it should all get absorbed into the fiber so that the water turns clear again. So it starts out full of dye, you put it in the fiber, and the water turns clear, and that means that all of the dye has been absorbed into the fiber. So if you use too much dye, or some dyes have more trouble absorbing, and you end up with a little bit of extra in the water, then you can add more fiber to help absorb the rest that's in the bath. And so this was like sort of it's called exhausting the dye bath. So this was some fiber that I used to exhaust some other Anyway, you got it. I forgot what I was like talking about in the middle of my sentence. I'm sorry.
And the train of thought goes careening into the book.
It happens once in a while. I'm not editing this. You get to see me in all of my flawed glory. So, anyway, it's like, I don't even know if this was, I think this was only like around 2 ounces. So, I just have a little bit left, and I'm going to find something else. I think I'm going to make a bat, maybe, to ply it with. So there's that. So I'm working on that, and then I'm also in the middle of a row, well, at the beginning of a row, on something new. So last week I showed you the color affection that I had started, and I had used these Malabrigo colors that were they were too close in color. They didn't contrast enough, and you couldn't see the striping pattern that was going on. So I decided to nix that one and find a new pattern. So what I'm going to be making instead is the pendulum shawl, and it is by Amy Miller. And it's cool. It only uses 2 colors, so I'm only going to be using 2 of the colors that I had originally gotten for the 3-color color affection. But the stripe's thicker over here, and then it gets thinner over here in one color, and then the other color it gets thicker on this side and thinner as it goes this way. So I've been looking at this pattern for a while, and I've been wanting to do it. So this was a good opportunity.
There you go.
Yeah, and so far I really like it. It's very easy to follow. It's simple. Anybody can do this. If you're a beginner, you can do this. And
it's all garter stitch.
It's garter. Yep. So
I think that might have to be on my list.
I love it so far, and I'm liking how the drape is coming out, and
of course mine will be like armor.
Yeah, no, don't. Do it in a... I love when shawls are like squishy and stretchy and kind of like, they just hang really nice. So don't make your shawl like armor.
I knit very tightly.
Yes, she's a tight knitter.
So I'll have to put up like maybe 2 or 3 needles other than what's suggested.
Yeah. Gotta work on that. It's supposed to be relaxing.
It is relaxing, but apparently I have been told at work that I open doors that way too.
Oh yeah, it's just her personality.
Like, vigor and gusto and whatever else.
Yeah. Yeah, me, I'm just like, wait, let's knit. So, and then I'll show you just a couple of future projects that I have in mind. Yeah, so I'll take it out of the bag. It's too shiny. I have this bat here that I carded up. Purples and turquoise and a little bit of lime green and black and white. And then I'm going to apply it, I think, with this little 2-ounce braid.
I love the purple and the green together.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it is very pretty. And I think it will go perfectly with this bat. So that is next for my spinning wheel. And then, so I don't really have, okay, I'm kind of monogamous.
Yeah.
Monogamous.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a monogamous knitter. So I usually don't have too many projects going on once. I like to finish projects and then start on a new one. And with the exception of maybe having like a larger project and a pair of socks or something to carry around. So I started on a shawl that after a while that gets kind of too big to carry around. So I'm going to make, I'm going to cast on some socks soon. And this is Knit Picks. Is it Felici or Felici? Felici. Sport. It's 75% merino, 25% nylon. It's a self-striping, and this is the recess colorway. It's got like
I thought it said Reese's, like the peanut butter.
No, like like a school recess. It's got like kind of a light red, a heathered yellow, cream, brown, this kind of like teal blue, and a light green. And then I'm going to use this green. This is also Knit Picks. It's their Stroll Sport in Pea Pod. I'm going to use this as like as the heels and the toes. So
very cool.
That should be fun.
Are you going to do like an afterthought heel in it?
No, I just knit I like to knit I like to be done with the sock when I'm done with it. Like, I don't like to get to the cuff and cast off and then have to like pick up stitches and do a heel. I just like to be done. I like it to be off my needles. It's just the way I am. So
that's why you knit toe up 2 at a time.
That's why I knit toe up 2 at a time. Yes, because I don't. If I finish the sock, I'm done with it. I don't want to knit another one. So I get bad second sock syndrome, and I think in like the afterthought heel case, I would get bad afterthought heel syndrome. I don't know.
You never put the heels in?
Yeah, I'd probably just have a lot of like heel-less socks laying around. So anyway, that is all I have going on at the moment, I believe.
Very cool.
Yeah,
So I had a bit of a off course this week.
You did? What happened?
Yes. So I was working on these roller derby socks. There's 4 roller derby. They're not like the colorway is called roller derby or anything like that. But the person that I made them for told me that she has an 11 centimeter wide toe, and both Allison and I got a tape measure and out, and I was like, that's way too wide.
Let me tell you, that is a wide foot. Like, I feel like my husband wears like size 12 shoes in men's, and I feel like his toe box might be 11.
So I was like, that can't be right. So we were figuring that she measured from where her foot lands on the floor to around her toes to the other part of where her foot lands on the floor. So around.
Rather than measuring like flat across the bottom of her foot.
And so I'm like, now I have to figure out like, how deep is her foot. Well, I'm like, that's not gonna work. So I'm just gonna. I had it 11 centimeters, and then I'm like, well, I'll just decrease a little bit. So it ended up being like this weird like circle toe thing. So I'm like, yeah, that's gonna work. So rip. And I restarted.
Probably could have blocked it out.
No, that much. Just kidding. It'll end up looking like a moshi toy or something.
That's funny.
But did you have any off course?
No, because, I actually didn't do all that much knitting. So I only went off course by my color selection for the color affection and had to rip it out. So that's okay. That gives me an opportunity to try this pendulum shawl, which I'm really excited about. And so far, I'm loving the pattern.
Since we both had ripped out things, and I know I didn't reskein and wash because it's still all crinkly. Did you reskein and wash?
No, I didn't. But you know what? I wasn't that far into the other shawl, and I hadn't even started on, I haven't even used the yellow color yet. So, yeah, there would have been no point or it wouldn't have been worth it anyway. And honestly, even if I had been really far, I probably wouldn't do that, because I don't know, because I'm going to wash it anyway once it's knitted, and it'll even out then, and I don't care if it's a little bit warbly or whatever when I'm knitting with it. So.
And I figured it'll be stretched over a toe, so it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know. an extra step that I just
I'm
don't
not
have
wanting to
time
do.
for. Yeah, seriously, you know, when you're busy, you just have to make the most of your time, and straightening out my yarn to knit with it again is just not high enough on my priority list. So anyway, what are we on to next?
Bird's eye view.
Yeah, so this is our overview of the week. What did you do?
So I went to work. That's normal.
She works a lot.
I do work
Full-time
a lot.
job.
Sometimes more than full-time.
Yes. Full-time and on-call.
Yes, the ATMs I was telling you about last week are my illegitimate children. I have 4 that I get to take care of on the island. And should one of them goes down, we're out there. But yeah, so I work at a bank, essentially. And forgive me, I'm going to get on my soapbox. So I have a passion for finance. And one of the things that I encounter either often or just, somewhat frequently is I have to put my knitting down so I can talk with my hands. In the military lifestyle, a lot of the times for military individuals, they rely on their pension for whatever they're going to retire on. Problem is, military pension is minuscule. Like, it is not enough to live on. So I have to tell people all the time, it is in your best interest to either start investing in whatever way that you are most comfortable investing, or, in terms of like open up an IRA. A lot of the times, though, with military individuals, they don't think that their wives or their spouses in general need an IRA or life insurance. So I've had to sit down and talk to a couple of different people this week and tell them that their spouse needed life insurance and an IRA for themselves. And I'm not coming at this from, the spouse is female and I'm female, so thus we're, coinciding together. No. I'm coming at this from a business point of view. So say your spouse suddenly is gone, God forbid, and whatever it is that they do is no longer available. So say your spouse takes care of your children. Maybe they homeschool, so provides education. Does the laundry, does the housework, picks up the groceries, carts the children around, etc., etc. So say that person is no longer there, and so you have to outsource all of those things that he or she used to do. And that's extremely expensive, especially if you're paying even minimum wage in the United States. So you need to have life insurance to cover whatever that person did for, at least anywhere between 1 and 5 years. So that's what I got to explain a lot this week.
That was the theme of the week, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Get your life insurance and get savings.
IRA.
Yeah, some kind of
get a
plan.
life insurance and get an IRA.
Yeah.
It's like, with the IRA, it doesn't even have to be with, the bank that I'm representing. Just get an IRA.
For your own benefit.
Exactly. I want to see people do well in their lives and be secure. So that's I'll get down from my soapbox now. But
it's good advice, though,
yeah.
for anybody, not just military, but anybody. So.
But I would say I have recently started my accreditation for becoming a financial counselor. So if anybody has any finance questions, let me know. I'll do some research and see if I can't provide The objective point of view?
I know I probably have a few.
Send them my way.
I'm not up on it all. That's for sure. Not as much as I should be. Anything else you want to talk about this week?
Oh God, no.
No. Okay.
Oh, okay. I take that back. Since I'm having some problems with my wrist and I can't bit and spin as much as I used to, I figured I might get back into my triathlons. So I was working on my bike today, and my road bike, and found that I have a piece missing to my bike. So I have to find some way to get a replacement of the piece, and it decided to... I had the bike packed up in like it looks like a giant piece of luggage, and there's a rip in the luggage, so I'm assuming that's how the piece got away.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be hard finding parts, or like I know a question I hear a lot is like if you have a sewing machine, where can you take it to get it repaired in Japan? And because I mean, there's a little bit of, not only are we lost in translation, and there's communication difficulties sometimes, they're just like, you know, sometimes you'd expect to be able to go to a certain place to find something. Well, in Japan, they don't carry that in this place. They carry it in its own special store, or in a different kind of store. So, yeah. But luckily, it's a bike part, and it's a fairly, it's a Trek, right? So that's a international brand, and
And cycling is pretty popular.
Cycling is popular on Okinawa, so I think you'll be okay.
I just have to find, because I went out today to try to find the piece, and there must be some sort of festival or holiday going on right now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stores around the area was closed, and I was very surprised.
Summer is festival season in Japan, and a lot of festivals happen. Actually, the Obon Festival is coming up soon, and that's a pretty big festival. That's like a multi-day festival.
What does Obo mean again?
Obon, I'm not, I don't know everything about it. I think it has something to do with your ancestors, like it's like honoring your ancestors.
Oh, I learned something about that this week. I think it was actually maybe you who told me, where if you take a picture of the funeral mausoleums, the Japanese believe that you're going to take one of their ancestors with you in the picture. At least that's
what I didn't tell you that, but I've heard similar things, like if you go to a shrine or a temple. I mean, I see people taking pictures, but at the same time I've heard that, it's kind of maybe disrespectful. Taboo? Or, yeah, I don't know, something about it. But I see people do it, so I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, those are the kinds of issues that you run into where there's a large cultural difference, and you're not always sure.
Japanese don't bury the dead, per se. They build this...
Cremation is... Yeah.
But is it like a mausoleum, or is it a shrine?
Well, in Okinawa, it's a little different too. Yeah, it's basically like a mausoleum. Your whole family's buried in one mausoleum. I mean, that's basically what it is. So, yeah.
Anyways, on a lighter note.
Okay, yeah, so festival season.
I was going to say, there was actually ASA dancers there was a park that I drive by to get to Allison's house on the way here, and I was very surprised how little time it took me to drive to Allison's house comparatively.
Yeah, usually when there's holidays, traffic's so much better. Traffic can get really bad not only because we're on a tiny island, but Japan has very slow speed limits, and their lights are not timed in a convenient way, at least. And there's a light like every 5 feet, literally, sometimes.
There seems like to be a 5-second rule in terms of when you can go through a yellow light. And everybody seems to either run through yellow lights or red lights. So you have to make sure when you are going that everybody around you is stopped. Because it gets a little kind of crazy sometimes.
Yeah, driving in Japan is an experience. And in the United States, we're used to driving on the right-hand side of the road. Here it's opposite, so that's another thing to get used to.
And there's no left on red here.
Yeah, you can't turn left on red, which is so annoying.
Very illegal.
Well, yeah. You can't
I would say some people, I was seeing some Okinawans who, or at least people with Japanese plates, do a left on red, and I'm like, ah!
Yeah.
When I say Japanese plates, for sofa status personnel, they give us an American letter, a Y letter, or English letter, whatever you want to call it, on our license plates, so we can identify who is American and who is not.
Yeah. We did something together this weekend, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Did you have anything else?
Nope, that's all I have.
Okay, so this week for me, I lost my wallet! And it was the worst possible timing because I had just sent my passport off to be renewed, so I had no picture ID whatsoever, which makes replacing the other IDs that much harder. So we have an ID, a picture ID, to get onto the base, and you can get onto a base without that ID, but somebody with the ID has to go with you. So I had to get my husband to sponsor me on, but even then you have to have some kind of picture ID, like a passport. And I sent my passport in to be renewed. So luckily, and here's a tip.
If you're traveling internationally,
if you have a passport, take it right now and scan it into your computer, because luckily I had a copy of my passport and I was able to use that to get onto base, which after I was on base, then I could replace my other ID, and I used a bank on base, so I could get a replacement card. So I still have to wait for my driver's license and another one of my cards, but for now I'm set, and my passport's on its way too, so it could have been worse, but it was still a big hassle. I spent all day trying to, get stuff figured out, and my husband was very helpful, even though he teased me the whole time about it. I have no idea how I lost it either, because I really didn't go anywhere or buy anything. The only place, the last place I remember having it was Knit Night, actually, and I used my ID from my wallet to get onto base to go to Knit Night, and I always put it back in my wallet and back in my purse. I didn't buy anything there. I went straight home, and then I didn't use it again. And then I finally, I had to go somewhere, so I was checking my bag, make sure I had everything, and I didn't have it, so no clue. Anyway, that was a hassle. And it was also kind of, it was just a big hassle. Anyway, It was also my son's birthday. He turned 2 years old on the 24th, and we took him to, they have these like indoor kids parks here. It's kind of like, I don't know, they're awesome. There are these indoor kids parks. They have like cars they can ride around. This one has like a trampoline, and then of course the big play structures with the tube slides and ball pits and all kinds of crazy stuff to climb on. So he had a really good time. He didn't want to leave. And his grandma and grandpa sent him a little inflatable pool, which is perfect because it's so hot right now. So he played in that and posted a picture on Instagram. He really enjoyed that. And yeah, he's just... Oh, and he got a drum set. Like a kid-sized drum set.
Where is it, by the way?
It's in his room, actually. Yeah, so...
And it's blue.
It's blue. It's cute. It's really cute. He had a blast, like, banging away on that today, so... I'm okay with it. Believe it or not. My husband has a full-size drum set and plays it all the time, so I'm used to it, and yeah, I'm used to it. So
it's part of life now.
It is, yeah. We have a house of musicians, so I want to encourage that in my son. I think it's great that he likes the drums like Daddy does, and he's interested in it. So let's see. So that brings us to Danielle and I's outing on Saturday. Her husband had to leave for some training, so he'll be gone for a while. So we decided to go to lunch together. There's this. It's a store. Well, it's multiple stores in one kind of like complex, and they call it the Awase Design Square, or Living Design Square Awase, and it's home goods and furniture, and I mean they have a little bit of imported food and things, and they have this really cute cafe called Soup Soup, and they have some Japanese style curry, but they also have lots of different soups you can choose from, and you can get like one big bowl or two little bowls to try more than one, and
it was delicious.
It is, yeah. It's not too far from where I live, so we go there sort of. I mean, not frequently, but we go there occasionally, and it's really good.
I'm really learning to love Japanese food.
Yeah. Yeah, so we had fun, and we actually took a few little videos while we were there. I don't know. They were just things we thought maybe you might find interesting. For example, the size of Japanese furniture, which Danielle demonstrates.
By the way, I'm only 5'3", and
yeah, she's not. Neither of us are tall or large, for the most part. So, and then she's sitting on this couch, and she's making the couch look tiny. So, I think that's interesting. That's one thing that I noticed when I got to Japan was you may have heard that everything is smaller in Japan, and it is true. Everything is smaller. And
we were looking at the beds even, and
yeah.
Their normal 2-person bed is smaller than a full-size mattress. And so I was actually watching this gentleman test out mattresses, and he was an average-sized gentleman in terms of Japanese men, and his feet were like maybe an inch from coming off the edge of the bed, and I'm thinking about my husband, and my husband is 6'4", and I'm like, my husband's feet would be off the bed like by a good foot.
Oh yes, mine as well. My husband is tall as well, and He can never buy pants here, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Anything, really, clothing item is always too small because he's just too tall. And, what else? Oh, we took a little video of, sometimes it's funny because you find American food that has been imported to Japan, and sometimes it's, like, crazy prices, you know, and it's like Kraft macaroni and cheese, $10 or something, you know. I'm exaggerating greatly, but
on a non-exaggerating thing, I went to a type of farmer's market that's close to where I live, and they had mangoes there, like from one of the outlining islands around here. They were $7.50 to $10 a pop.
yeah,
And they were packaged individually.
yeah,
And you can buy up to a box of 4, I think, or something like that. And the box was roughly around $35. I was blown away. I was like, I do not like mangoes that much.
Fruit here is gorgeous. It is beautiful, and it looks like it's plastic, but it is really expensive. So, yeah, you gotta find the deals. Farmers markets or oftentimes supermarkets will have like a sale shelf of fruit. I know that sounds strange, but it's basically fruit that's just not perfect, like everything else.
And they don't want to throw anything away.
Yeah, and it's great. I've bought like apples that maybe have a bruise on it or something, and I don't care. I'll cut the bruise off and save $10.
Exactly.
I'm exaggerating again. Sorry, it's not that bad, but it can get expensive. What else and then we took one more video. The sound is very quiet.
Because
unfortunately,
we're in a busy shopping center.
It's a busy shopping center. There's lots of background noise, and we were using Danielle's iPhone to take these videos, so the quality might not be the best. But another interesting thing about Japanese culture is the way they pack lunches to bring to work or school or outings, and they will often have like these specialty little lunch boxes. They're called bento boxes, and Danielle got one to try out to bring to work.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to challenge myself for this week to see if I can, be full from the bento box, because the bento box is this big. And inside it has a little area for chopsticks. I was using the chopsticks today, so they're gone. They're in the wash. I was practicing my chopstick skills, and I am realizing that I don't have any chopstick skills.
Ohashi, that's how you say chopsticks in Japanese.
Ohashi.
Hashi or ohashi. Or that's also how you say bridge, coincidentally. FYI.
Japanese word of the day.
Yes, Japanese word of the day.
So what I put in here for just trying to, see like if I'm going to go hungry, essentially. So I have in here some cabbage and white radish salad. By the way, white radishes out here are literally this big. That big around.
The daikon?
Yeah, daikon. And they look at you funny when you're American and buy a daikon. And it's just this huge white radish. It tastes just like a regular radish. It's kind of like on a hot side. At least that's what I think.
They pickle it a lot.
Yeah.
You find a lot of pickled daikon.
So how I prepared it was I put it with cabbage and added some rice vinegar and stirred in like a half a teaspoon of mayonnaise. And that tastes fine to me. And then I have my protein, which is red beans and sausage with peas and carrots, and then some rice, as well as a tiny little dessert for me, because I have a sweet tooth. Like my entire mouth is my sweet tooth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my challenge. I'll see if I can't, like, Instagram photos of my lunch.
But that's a good idea. 'Cause, the other thing about like bento culture is that some people get very artistic, especially with like kids, their kids' lunches, and I mean,
like, there's faces on fruit.
Yeah,
involved.
they'll make the little rice balls into tiny panda bears, and they at this store that we went to, they sell like special tools for creating bento art, basically, like punches. Like you've seen the punches for paper that have shapes in them. Well, these punches have like shapes that you're supposed to punch in nori, which is dried seaweed, and you use that to like make little faces on the rice. I mean, it's
intense.
Yes, they are.
Super serious
Japan is a very detail-oriented culture, I guess. Yes.
Things.
Small, cute, detailed things. So, yeah, it's very interesting. And so at the end of this episode, we'll include the videos that we took. They're just short little videos, and again, I'm sorry about the quality. I'm not sure what it's going to be like, but you'll get an idea.
And I also took a small video coming down the hill to Allison's house. It's maybe just a couple of seconds of just like the overlook in part of the ocean. But it's in my car, so if you get car sick, this is your warning. And I'll try to, type in the warning before the video comes up.
Yeah, in her video, it's the view is you're looking out towards the ocean as you're coming down this hill, and so we live close to the water out there. If you see, I'm not sure if it shows it in the video, but there's a large, like, it's just a straight tower, like one of those orange and white radio towers. Our house is very close to that, so anyway. Moving along. We have actually gotten some questions on our group page, which is awesome. I am so glad that people are interacting and interested a little bit, and we want to know what you guys want to hear about. If you don't want to hear so much about our daily lives, yeah, please tell us. But if you're interested, if you want to know more about Japan or something, we'll talk more about that. So please leave questions if you have them, and we will try and answer them. We have like 3 questions right now. We're going to answer one, and if we have time, we're already at like 40 minutes now, so we'll probably just answer one today, but we'll get to the other ones as well. So our first question is from Fleet Admiral K, and she wanted to know more about Japan because she's interested in moving here and finding a job, and she wants to know about maybe the difficulties we had acclimating, or if we encounter any difficulties on a daily basis, or how people react to us and how they treat us because we're foreigners, things like that. So, do you wanna
Yeah, I
answer
actually
first?
Did a little bit of research on this because it's going to be completely dependent on what island you are on in Japan. If you're on mainland Japan, things are a little bit different than in Okinawa. Okinawa, they are very much used to Americans because there are 6 Marine Corps installations, a Navy installation, and an Air Force installation here. So, like I said, they're very much used to us. And a lot of people speak English or Spanish. We actually had one of our knit night girls who has recently moved. She knew how to speak Spanish, but didn't know how to speak something that she wanted in Japanese. So the Japanese person, sensing that she was having trouble with Japanese, switched over to Spanish and said, habla inglés, and or habla español. There we go. And she's like, sí!
Who would have thought?
Exactly.
Using Spanish in Japan.
So they were able to converse in Spanish and, get a shopping transaction done.
Very cool.
That was Anne, by the way. And so, like I said, it's going to be different on what island you're going to be on. For mainland Japan, what I have read, or actually, there's a podcast out there who's kind of trying to debunk Japanese myths. Not a podcast, it's a YouTube channel. Trying to remember what it is. I'll give you the link.
Okay, yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
But she's a student over there in mainland Japan. And one of the things that she has noticed with foreigners coming to mainland Japan is that they take their shoes off when they come inside versus taking your shoes off on the step outside. If that makes any sense. So you're not supposed to walk in the house with your shoes. You take your shoes off outside or in like a mudroom area before you go into the main house. And then it's considered rude, from what I understand, to talk on your phone or be on your phone when you're on the bus or on the train.
But yeah. That's also true, really, in the United States, but...
Especially when you're talking loud.
Yeah, Americans are very loud. And if you travel at all or, have lived in a foreign place, you realize that when you see, like, other Americans around, you're kind of like, oh. I mean, not always. Some people do not. I'm making gross generalizations here, but at least that's what I see in Japan a lot is, sometimes you see the groups of Americans and they're very loud and you just know that they're Americans and because they announce it to everybody. But I have actually lived on the mainland, and I lived on the part of Japan called Honshu. That's the same part of Japan. That's the main, like, long part of Japan. Hokkaido is the island that's above it. But that's the main island of Japan where Tokyo is, Osaka, a lot of the major cities. And we lived at the very northern part of that part of Japan. So we lived in a prefecture called Aomori, and it snows like 20 feet in the winter, and it's very rural. And there are not as many Americans up there. So my experience living up there was that people did not speak English in general. And around where I lived, I just dropped my whole project bag, by the way. But around where we lived, there were, it was a base, so there were other Americans. So in that little area, they were used to seeing Americans. But if you went outside of that at all...
You were considered a unicorn?
Yeah, sometimes. Not always, but sometimes people would stare at you. They would. They weren't used to seeing foreigners, especially if you went someplace kind of like another little town, where they don't get a lot of tourists in general. So that it was completely different experience. Okinawa, like Danielle said, is very used to Americans. It's the largest concentration of military in Japan is in Okinawa, and Americans live everywhere. They eat out. They interact with.
Just live normal everyday lives.
Yeah, so Okinawans are very used to having Americans around, and they speak English often. They'll have English menus for you. They really cater to Americans. But on the other hand, there's also a little bit of tension because these bases are taking up Japanese land, and some Okinawans don't want the bases here, And so there are protests occasionally. Now, Japanese protests are very, very mild compared
They're scheduled.
to... They're scheduled, and they're just... I mean, there are people holding signs, and they're, like, waving at you and smiling, kind of, sometimes. I don't know. They're not scary protests, but there are protests, and there is that percentage of Okinawa that doesn't... You're not welcome, you know. In the mainland, I'm sure it exists as well, but in general, Japanese people are very, very, very polite and helpful. You will never get customer service like you get in Japan. I mean, it's amazing how considerate and helpful and just nice in general. And they're interested, and they're also having a son. Japan is so tolerant and what's the word I'm looking for here? They're very it's like a kid-friendly culture, you know. There's always
an auntie or like what or that's what you call older women in Hawaii is auntie. That's like wants to play with the little kids. Doesn't matter whose little kid it is. They always want to like play with the little kid.
Yeah, so I'd say like a comparison would be in the United States, maybe your kid's having a tantrum in the middle of the store or something, and people are kind of rolling their eyes like at you. Maybe, I don't know. That's how I envision it. Anyway.
They
I haven't actually had.
They kind of look at you like,
yeah,
why are you having that child?
Yeah,
here?
they're like blaming. You just feel kind of more embarrassed. Here, it's like they're a lot more understanding, and
especially when you look like you're trying.
Yeah, my so if your kid's having a tantrum in the middle of the aisle of the grocery store, people are like, they're laughing about it, you know, they're smiling and saying, "Oh, is that cute?" Kind of more of a reaction than of annoyance. So that's another cool thing about Japan, and they're always like, I could go on and on. Japan is a very cool place to live, and
really truthfully, for here in Okinawa, it's so safe. Like, majority of the time. Like, crime is pretty low.
That being said, we were actually robbed in rural, you know, Japan, which also people feel is very safe. We were robbed. Like, our house was broken into when we were away, and everything was taken. So, and actually in Okinawa, I hear about a lot of crime, a lot of theft anyway, and...
Oh, I would say a lot of people leave their vehicles unlocked.
Yeah, it might be because people they have this feeling of safety, but I mean, crime happens here like any place, but the crime rate is lower, I would say, for sure. My husband left his wallet on top of a vending machine one time, and I feel like in the States, you would never see that wallet again, but somebody, you know, I think they turned it into the desk or something. So, I feel like, yes, I feel like there's lower crime rate here. I do feel safer here.
Well, and it seems like, for me anyways, kind of, you know, just, you know, not being in Okinawan society every day, like, Allison lives off base, so she's in Okinawa society every single day. I have a tendency to be in this military bubble, because I work with the military, I live on the military, so you have to make an effort to get out of that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I have tried to make an effort when I can, essentially.
It's hard because you know, it's not a vacation. We're not here to see. We're not here to do. I mean, yes, if you have the opportunity, do the touristy things and see as much as you can. But you know, we're here with jobs, and other, like, life responsibilities. We live here. We have to take care of our everyday lives. And, she works full time, so she doesn't always have the opportunity to get out and do other things. When she does, and yeah, you take trips and you do what you can, but...
And the Marine Corps Family Services do a fantastic job of putting out some tours to go to and seeing all the touristy things, and even doing like I did sea kayaking one time, and that was amazing because we were able to go through the mangroves. It's just a matter of like I have a fear of snakes. So I don't want the snakes to like drop on my head when I'm sea kayaking through the mangroves.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't really have a fear of snakes, and I don't want that either. So
snakes and needles.
I can understand, yeah.
But anyways.
So let's see.
Did she have a second part of the question? I thought she did.
So I hope that gives you a feeling about how people kind of react to you. And it really does depend on where you are. Like, if you're in Tokyo, that's obviously a very international place. So they're also used to foreigners. I see a lot of when I've been in Tokyo, I've seen a lot of Americans walking around, and they work there. A lot of people speak English, so it really depends on where you are. If you're in a rural place like where I was, you should definitely make sure that you work on at least some basic Japanese, just to have like interactions in restaurants and stores, things like that, how to buy things. So, and as far as acclimating to Japan, that is one of the hardest things. It's not like going to Europe where you can still actually kind of read the signs. Maybe you're not pronouncing them right. Maybe you don't quite know what they mean, but at least you can kind of read them. In Japan, if you haven't studied the Japanese language, it is
difficult.
Yeah. To say that it's... I was
going to say that's probably a vast understatement that it is difficult, but like, for me, Allison is able to read some things. Like,
yeah, and that is the best thing that I did was when I first got here, I practiced and learned how to read some of the characters and, practice some vocabulary and took a little class. And it has helped me a lot. And my husband is actually a linguist, so he's helped me a lot as well because he picks up languages very quickly. He understands them. He speaks Chinese, so Chinese and Japanese have some similarities, and Japanese uses some Chinese-derived characters. Their kanji characters are Chinese characters that they've adopted. So he has a little bit, but he can't read the hiragana and the katakana like I can as well. So we like together, we are whole and we can sort of figure things out. But the other part of the question, she wanted to know if it was difficult to acclimate to the culture.
And like I'm still acclimating.
It is a very, very different culture.
I can't get over it. Like if you watch Japanese television, sometimes they end up with doing a 5-minute commercial. Like in between television shows, you have a 5-minute commercial.
Yeah.
And you're like, is this another show? But they're showing a product. But yeah, it's shopping is really big. Like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and as far as acclimating to all that goes, I think we sort of touched on this earlier, where sometimes you're not sure of the customs, and I'm still uncertain. I've lived here for years now, and I am still not always certain in the situation what is polite, what is correct. So, and Japan is also a very it's kind of a closed society. Like if you're Japanese, you will never be Japanese, and to do certain things, you like, you'll have to find somebody who is a Japanese citizen to sponsor you, kind of. Even, we put my son in a Japanese daycare, and they don't speak much English. But we have a neighbor, a Japanese neighbor, who she does speak English, and we've sort of made friends with her. She's helped us out a lot, and she went to the daycare with us, and she was sort of like our sponsor, you know. I think they would have been a little bit less
welcoming.
Yeah, they might have turned us away if she hadn't been with us. So some situations like that. And as far as finding a job here, if you speak Japanese fluently, then you're set to go. If you don't...
But at the same time, we're not really 100% familiar with Japanese working laws.
Yeah, but just knowing... And again, it depends on where you are. Because here in Okinawa, there are so many Americans, and they cater to Americans. So I have seen Americans working at Japanese businesses as kind of like the American liaison almost. Like, maybe they don't speak Japanese 100%, but but if you're in the mainland, I would say your best bet is English teacher, because that is the #1 job that I hear of Americans coming over to Japan having their English teachers. And
or even associated with the DOE, which is Department of Education, and they get placed, you know, around the world sometimes.
Right. So teaching is a good way if you're looking for a job in Japan to come over here and work. So we have been talking a lot about this. I think we are going to move on. Hopefully that answers your questions, or at least some of them. And if not, feel free to message us.
Or incites more questions.
Yeah. Or put something else in the questions thread, and we'll do our best to address that. Let's see. So we're going to quickly do some shout-outs, and Danielle has something to show you for mail call. Why don't you do your shout-outs first?
Okay, so I have a bird call for a YouTube channel. I've been surfing around YouTube, and it's called Society Why It's Wrong. So it's essentially this one gentleman who kind of rants and raves and thinks he's an expert, but he's essentially a geek, and he has some geek/nerd friends, and it's just hilarious. And, you know, go check it out if you're looking for a good laugh, but at the same time it gets kind of a point across. The one that I had Allison watch before we started was why geeks or people who, you know, go to Comic-Con and, you know, that sort of stuff, have a problem with fake fangirls or geek fangirls, when in reality they shouldn't really have a problem with it, because, you know, no woman who has no interest in Star Trek and, you know, all those, you know, Firefly and, you know, Firefly, and all those other things, would pay $500 to go to a comic convention. So they're just kind of debunking the myth of being a fake fangirl.
They're saying there's no such thing, because why would you spend so much time and effort if you were just faking it?
Yeah.
to get into these conventions with a bunch of other nerdy, like, guys? I don't know.
And if, you know, they were saying if the girl is there specifically because her boyfriend made her come, then, you know, it's only equal footing, because sometimes, you know, us women have a tendency to have boyfriends, husband, etc. to go into Victoria's Secret with us, or...
Yeah. Or I was thinking about, like, guys that come to knitting retreats or knitting
and
festivals.
Who don't knit, yeah.
Well, but, I mean, it would be like questioning one who did knit and came to came to a knitting festival or a retreat, and it would be like calling him a fake knitter, and he's only there to meet women, yeah, or something. You know, that's how I kind of saw the video, and it is obviously ridiculous. So
yeah, it's really funny. But
yeah. So what were they called again?
The channel is called Society Why It's Wrong.
Okay, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes too,
I'm
so you guys can go see.
the whole knitter thing just now, and it's like that actually,
yeah, see, that's a different perspective on it.
Yeah, well, and really truthfully, I
think
it
into perspective for all you knitters out there.
Well, and I say, think of it this way: if you are the only guy, say in a yarn shop, you're going to have the attention of every single female there. So that would actually work to their advantage.
Well, but that's what they're saying about these fake geek girls too, or fake nerd girls. That's what they're saying, that it would work to their advantage because obviously all these like nerdy guys would worship them because they're the women at the convention, but
who's dressed up like Sailor Moon.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's not. They're saying that's why she goes, but the why it's wrong people are debunking that, saying you would never put that much time and effort into
just having guys oogle you.
Yeah, like nerdy guys, nonetheless socially awkward.
when you can go to a bar or a nightclub sometimes for free.
I feel like I'm being very offensive to nerdy guys or geeky people, or I don't know. Sorry.
Okay, do you have any shout-outs?
Yes.
Or bird calls, excuse me?
Yes, quickly, I want to say hello to our members. We have 21 members now, and I'm so excited. And I especially want to say thank you and give some bird calls to Fleet Admiral K, whose question we answered very thoroughly.
Thoroughly?
Yes. Waipahu, Nainers, the Artsy Knitter, Jamie Walcott. All of these people have either introduced themselves in the introduction thread, or asked a question, or responded to the episode 1 thread, and that is awesome. That I want to meet you guys, and please introduce yourself. I know it's kind of I know it can be intimidating, or some people are shy, but don't be. I mean, like, I want to know who's out there. That's why we're doing this, is so that we're trying to meet you guys. And please introduce yourself. I think I'm going to steal an idea from the Artsy Knitter. She was doing a giveaway once they got to so many members, but you had to introduce yourself. So I think once we get to, well, who knows, maybe we'll only ever have 21 members. But if we get to 50 members, I want to do a giveaway, a prize, and anybody who's entered in the introduction thread, anybody who's introduced themselves are entered for the giveaway. So please, please, please go introduce yourself. And my other shout out, or bird call, it's sort of a bird call, sort of a recommendation. It's so I mentioned in one of the episodes that I had joined Audible, which is audiobook subscription. You get one audiobook a month for $14.95, I believe. And anyway, they also have daily deals, and their daily deal, this isn't going to help you now because it won't be the daily deal anymore, but they do have really good books sometimes on the daily deal, and recently they had Endurance by Alfred Lansing. It is the true story of Shackleton's expedition to Antarctica, and it is an incredible story. I read it when I was in Antarctica, and I mean, being there and reading what these guys went through, it was crazy. I mean, it is amazing that they survived, and it's a very interesting story. So Endurance by Alfred Lansing. Read it or get the audiobook. That's my book recommendation.
Okay.
So, and then you had something to share for mail call.
Yes, mail call. I'm sorry we're blasting through this, but that's just how we're rolling.
We are over an hour.
We're over an hour. So this is the sweater size bag, or Erin's sweater size bag, from the Fat Squirrel, and it's really well constructed. And then she puts a lavender satchel in it, and inside is just mercerized cotton, just kind of plain stuff. And I thoroughly enjoy the fabric and everything like that. So
it is. I love that. Okay. My project bag collection is very, very sad. It is. I have one like Chica. Is that a Chica bag that I got as a gift? I think Knit Picks carries them, and it's really nice. I like it. It's small, so I use it for socks sometimes, or very tiny projects. But other than that, I've sort of moved beyond like using Ziploc bags, but every once in a while I'll still put it in like one of those plastic drawstring bags, or just like plain drawstring bags. I made a bag for myself and I use that a lot, but again, it's really small, so it's like a sock bag. Anyway, I'm gonna have to look at her bags and probably pick one up. Or if you guys have suggestions of bags that you really love, what I like about hers is I like that lanyard that's attached to the zipper. I think that's really cool. And they're obviously very well constructed and everything. So, and I like maybe a little bit that size, or maybe a little bit smaller is what I'm looking for. So if you guys have suggestions, let me know. Anyway, I'm sorry this is so long, but
and it's going to be longer because we have other video.
Yes. Maybe we might have to edit a little bit. I don't know. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway.
I'm like, what are we going to cut out? Like,
Anyway, we will end here and sort of end here because there's going to be video at the end. But we'll see you guys again next week.
Yeah. Again, real quick, if you get motion sickness from videos, we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Just on my way to Allison's house. Well, we're actually going to the design center. Thought I would show people a little bit of Okinawa.
Okay, what did you find?
Hello! I found a Just Maker's Farm, and we are in one of the Japanese used kind of Goodwill stores here, and pretty excited that I found this, so I don't have to pay shipping. So I'm pretty excited.
And it's only about $15.
It's only $15, 75%.
Yeah, and it's nice. It has a metal stand and everything. So perfect. Good find. Me and Danielle went out for lunch, and we're here at this store now, and I thought I would show you guys something that I think is interesting, and that's when you find foods that are imported from the United States and you see the price difference. So for example, this is a jar of Tostitos salsa. It's 500 yen, which is about $5. This packet of taco seasoning is about $2.50. And this can of Hormel chili is about $3. So kind of interesting. It puts it in perspective for you. So there you go. Bye. Okay, so here's another interesting thing, and that is you've probably heard that everything in Japan is small. Maybe you've heard that. Well, it is true, because this is a normal sized couch, or even a somewhat large couch for Japanese standards that Danielle is sitting on, and you can tell, and Danielle is not a large girl, let me tell you. She's little, and she dwarfs the couch. I don't want to say dwarfs. I'm making you sound bigger than you are. Anyway, this is how small Japanese furniture is.
Hi! So we thought we'd show you guys some Japanese bento box. So this is an adult size one. So inside you have a little container to put your main course things like meat, you know, side salads, etc. And then down here you would put your rice and then put it all together and take it to work. So that one's an adult size one, and then here is a child size one. And on top they have some silverware, there's chopsticks, and then again it takes it apart. So this is what they would take for lunch, just for, you know, we're trying to determine if this would be enough food or not.
Probably not for your average American.
Not for your average American, no.